Hello YouTube, Scamp the Wolf here for another video for your viewing pleasure. And today we're going to be talking about the top 10 worst albums of 2021. Now, this is a list. This is the first time I'm going to be doing one of these list things on YouTube, and unfortunately, it isn't for the better. It's for the worst because, well, it says the top 10 worst albums of 2021. Now, of course, 2021 was a great year for music. There's going to be a top 25 best albums of 2021 list right after this, so definitely stay tuned for that because that'll be happening. But there were 10 albums that I did not like this year that were absolutely either terrible or just disappointment or just like not good or whatever. But yeah, anyway, let's get onto it. And there were five dishonorable mentions actually, that I feel like talking about that did not make the list proper, but they were terrible or not very good. I and all of these got like 4 out of 10 scores, like have devolved into 4 out of 10 albums. So all the dishonorable mentions for sure are 4 out of 10s. So as we go down here, I will tell you what the five dishonorable mentions are. The first one up is Asking Alexandria to See What's on the Inside. This is just generic, like I want to be on active rock radio, metalcore kind of stuff. Nothing really special. There's not really a song on here that I like or anything like that. It's all just there. And it's all just stuff to forget about, really. Like, and if you hear it on the radio, like you'll probably forget about it. It's tepid. That's exactly what it is. Atreyu with Baptize is next up on the dishonorable mentions, and one good song on this album. There was one good song, Dead Weight. That was a great song, but the rest of it just kind of sucked. Like like Warrior was a terrible song. It was one of the with Travis Barker, which he's on the list proper as well. So this won't be the first time or the last time we've seen him. It is the first time, but whatever. But yeah, Dead Weight's the only good song on the album. And if it was just Dead Weight being judged, it wouldn't even be on the list. It wouldn't even be on the dishonorable mentions either. So yeah, Trey's Baptized. Yeah, I heard a lot of people didn't like this album. It has a low Metacritic score and all that stuff. Yeah, Matt Heafy's wasted on it, and the songwriting's terrible. And yeah, Trey's Baptized go that one to the Dogs or Wolves or whatever. Next up on the list, Beartooth with their album Below. Another band that's kind of like Atreyu and Asking Alexandria, only the last album, Disease, was actually not that bad, with songs like Clever and stuff like that. But this one, they wanted to go heavier, but the lyrical content just sucked on this one. Like, and it's not even close to being heavy. Like, it's not even close to being, like, just the heaviest music in the world. No, no, totally not. It's more active rock filler with cringeworthy lyrics. I mean, for a second, for perspective, if you want to listen to the title track Below, that song has terrible lyrics. Or you, you give tracks like Fed Up and stuff like that. No, no. Don't listen to those. Please don't listen to those. And some people will probably tell you, oh, it's good, it's good. You're going to go listen to them. But if you want my opinion, don't listen to it. That's all I'm saying. Next up, Fear Factory with Aggression Continuum. I know that there's some people that like this album because they're fans of Fear Factory. And this is going to be controversial of me, but I don't care. I think that this was not a good comeback for Fear Factory. It just sounded like there's a reason why Burton Bell left the band before this album was even released, and he recorded vocals for this. Is because he sounds like he's totally out of it on this album. Like he doesn't sound good. It's the same Fear Factory stuff you've seen or heard actually a million times on other albums like Gen Xs, which is way better than this, which is Mechanized, that's way better. Obsolete is way better. Digimortal's way better. Go check out those albums if you want good Fear Factory music, because this ain't it. I gotta tell you, like, so I'm not even that big on Fear Factory, but man, Aggression Continuum, man, that was a disappointment, and it was worthy of being on the list, so, or the dishonorable mentions list. So yeah, there's that. And then we get to Imagine Dragons, who tried, who came back with Mercury Act One, and they did try a little bit harder with My Life and Dull Knives and maybe some other songs, but overall, it's just the same kind of commercial core that they've been doing. You know, like it's the same stuff. Like it's just not interesting enough to really win me into being an Imagine Dragons fan. And why the heck would I be an Imagine Dragons fan? That sounds like a pretty stupid prospect right there. Oh, I'm a fan of Imagine Dragons. Yeah, like maybe one or two songs, but even those I don't listen to that much. I mean, at least it's not Demons. At least it's not Believer. Songs like that on this album, but it's still kind of bland, kind of generic, kind of just forget about it. Like, and I hope there's an act two to this. I will say that. I hope there's an act two to this trilogy or whatever, or this series that begins with like Venus Act Two or Earth Part Three, whatever. I hope they don't just leave it at Mercury Act One, like a lot of bands do. And it's just a personal pet peeve of mine, but whatever. Anyway, getting those out of the way, let's talk about the list proper. So, we start off at number 10. Let's see this. Number 10, 21 Pilots with Scaled and Icy. Yeah, a lot of people are not going to like me for putting 21 Pilots on a worst of list, particularly their fans, which are like kids and like teenagers and like young adults and stuff, like a lot of millennials, Generation X's, or whatever you want to say about them. But, and don't take this the wrong way, I definitely don't think 21 Pilots is that bad. I actually do like some of their stuff. The album, Trench, that album was good. Um, their breakout one, Blurry Face, that was good. Those albums are definitely good. Like, I mean, I don't listen to them a lot. Like, I Trench more than Blurry Face, but again, they have good moments on them. This one, Scaled and Icy, almost put me to sleep. You saw it on the stream that I did when I was listening to this album. I just, the only reason I got through it is because it was boring. Not because it was like offensively bad. It was just boring. It was just disappointing on so many levels. Because Mike Elizondo should have produced this one, and he only produced the moments on this album that worked. Good Day and Mulberry Street. And then Shy Away, which wasn't, I don't think was produced by him, but that's a good single or whatever. The rest of this stuff, very boring, and at times bad. Saturday and Bounce, man, those two songs sucked. Don't even deny it either. They sucked. And they weren't just 21 Pilots at their best. So, yeah, that's pretty much the extent of that. Like, it just sounds like everything else out there. It just sounds like every other pop song out there. Nothing's really different about it. Then nothing really like sets it apart from 21 Pilots' other albums, except for the fact that it references one of the characters from freaking Trench, Clancy, in the title, which is like an anagram. That's really it. It's album that fans are going to be like, oh well, this part of the album, like this ties into this, which ties into that, which ties into this album. I don't really care about that. It's not really that good. I don't care about this larger than life concept or anything like that. I just think that this is not objectively good music. There's better from 21 Pilots that you could be listening to, and maybe even some 21 Pilots fans will admit that this is their weakest album. Now, moving on from number 10 to number 9. Number 9, Bad Flower with This Is How the World Ends. Yeah, This Is How the World Ends by Bad Flower. This one, like after a debut, which was pretty good. I mean, I listened to it a lot. Okay, I'm Sick was definitely a solid album that showed that they were kind of unique. Well, they still are unique from the pack in the fact that they amplified everything from Okay, I'm Sick that didn't work and made it onto this album. I don't care what anyone says about, oh, they're revitalizing the whole emo thing or whatever. I'm sorry, when you have a song like Stalker with the lyrical content about that, which is sounds like it came from some like creepy person, no, totally no. And then songs like Fuck Boy or like Everybody's an Asshole and stuff like that. And then like, ooh, let's be edgy, let's curse a lot. Like, it doesn't work that way. Thankfully, though, they're not like Five Finger Death Punch or anything like that where they just abuse it without any skill whatsoever. But it still doesn't work when you have that. And when you have the other songs on here, which is just like, oh, I'm so depressed. Like, I'm trying to just be as explicit as I can about this. I'm trying to use a lot of profanity and stuff and how cool I am for doing that. Like, I said this in the text document, the album cover, like this album cover here that I have on my right here, should have been Josh Katz, the lead singer, like flipping the bird off and then holding the parental advisory sign on it. Like, that would have been actually a comical like album cover. Like, to be honest, like that would have been a very fitting album cover to how this album feels. There is some okay stuff like She Knows, Only Love, maybe even Machine Gun, which are. And one would think that a song called Machine Gun would be edgy, but like I think it's actually about like soldiers or something like that. Like, but like there are moments where they try to like break away from this edgy, oh, I'm a stalker, oh yeah, kind of stuff. Like, but for most of this album, it's just like all the stuff that didn't work about Okay, I'm Sick, or that did work, but was convincing. And on this album, it just makes you uncomfortable and stuff like that. So I'm not against uncomfortable music and stuff like that, but they don't do it well on this. And yeah, it's a downgrade, totally. Number 8. Guess nobody's heard of this one before. At number 8, I have The Letter Black with their self-titled album. Yeah, The Letter Black. I don't think anybody really knows about The Letter Black. I don't, unless you're a Christian fan, unless you're a Christian rock fan. That's the only way you'll probably know about The Letter Black because, for one, Hanging On by a Thread was an album for that, for Christian rock. And like, I remember liking that, but the rest of their material was not very good. Pain, I do respect it for sounding like trying to be like Korn, but at the end of the day, Korn is way better than Pain by The Letter Black, to be honest with you. And then they have this self-titled album called Self-Titled Album or whatever. This is more generic music. This actually is not really that offensive. It's the one album on the list. It's like just bland all the way through. But yeah, it does have some terrible vocal moments. It does have some terrible songwriting or terrible like stuff in it. Like, this is like exactly what a Christian rock band in 2021 would be doing. Like, like they don't even have the budget of like a Skillet or anything like that. Like, Skillet has a bigger budget than The Letter Black. They're just making stuff that nobody would listen to, like unless you're just some Christian rock. The reason why Christian rock is dying is not because everybody's trying to be an atheist or whatever. Like, the reason why Christian rock is dying is because bands like this keep putting out records that are so generic and they're not pushing the boundaries whatsoever. Instead of just being fine, being the same kind of stuff that you would hear from like 2008 with vocals that sound like from some Disney Channel movie or something. Because the female vocals on this does not sound good whatsoever. I don't care what anyone has to say about that. I don't care if I offend anybody by saying that this album isn't good, because this album isn't good. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. This album was so generic that I needed a drink. Yeah, that drink felt really good compared to this. So yeah, Letter Black. No, I don't care. There's no highlights on it. There's nothing really particularly like amazing. Trevor McNevin's cameo on one of the songs wasn't that good. It, just please release another Thousand Foot Crutch album. I don't care if it's generic, if it's another generic album like Oxygen and Hail or anything like that. Just release another Thousand Foot Crutch album, because that would be way better than this. Number 7. This one is also going to be controversial, but also it's going to be expected because a lot of people don't like this. The Day to Remember with You're Welcome. Now, I don't hate this album as much as a lot of people do. A lot of people really hate this album. Rock's video, if you saw their video, or his video, this was his number 1 worst, because like he only does 5 and all that stuff, and it was number 1, and I'm guaranteeing you that there's going to be more than one person putting it in the top 3, because this is a catastrophic like album for A Day to Remember. But I'm just one of those people that's like, oh, this isn't the worst thing ever, but it still sounds very, very confused, very, very unsure of its identity, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm not even that big of a fan of A Day to Remember. Like, I do like some of their stuff, like Bad Vibrations wasn't that bad. Some of their earlier songs weren't that bad. But You're Welcome, like, it's not that the songs are terrible. Like, there's some terrible, like, tracks on it which could be construed as terrible, like Bloodsucker or whatever, or like Everything We Need, or something like that. But like, it's more just I don't feel the soul coming from it. I don't feel moved or motivated by anything on this album. You're Welcome. Like when I heard it, and I heard it like once, and that's pretty much it. And like, it's just not like music that's like moving or anything. Like, it's just there. Like, it just exists. And coupled in with all the controversy that surrounded this album, like how it was supposed to be released in 2019 at the end of that year, and then they delayed it to add more tracks and stuff like that, and then they came back and did all this stuff, and then like they're signed to Fueled by Ramen, which 21 Pilots is also on Fueled by Ramen as well, and then like all the allegations that have been coming out and stuff like that, like it's not been a good year for A Day to Remember, and it will be a miracle if they survive out of this. But You're Welcome is not a good album. It will be remembered as an album that is not their best. Like, none of their fans are going to be really clamoring to hear these songs. Like, nobody's going to be clamoring to hear FYM or Viva La Mexico or something, or like whatever. Like, nobody's going to be wanting to hear these songs. Maybe other than Degenerates, because that's just a single, or like Mind Reader, or like Resentment, maybe, or any of those songs, because those songs, I think they were released. I think Resentment. I could be wrong about that. Mind Reader was, along with some other songs, but like, yeah, Day to Remember, You're Welcome. Not a very good album, and it's at number 7 because it was a catastrophic, like, album for the band and stuff like that, and they could probably make it out of this one, but it's not as much their fault, even though it kind of is, because they made the songs that were on it, so why not, right? But yeah, A Day to Remember is at number 7. That's all you need to know. And coming up next on the list at number 6, Wage War with Manic. Yeah, Wage War with Manic. You saw that stream. I hope you did. If you didn't, go back and watch it. Go back and watch me listening to the album and giving my like 2 cents on it, and just roasting it to a crisp. Because the thumbnail on that video even says "spoiler alert." It sucks. And when I'm and the some a picture of me at the right hand corner or whatever, like he goes, it's really bad. Like it's you want to talk about generic. This album is like generic metalcore. Like I call it Diet Sierra Mistcore on the list on the. If you want to check that on DeviantArt, if you want to read that, definitely go ahead and read it. But yeah, it's always the number 6 album on the list that is always like the one that's where the terrible music starts coming in. And trust me, Wage War's Manic is terrible. There, I said that. There, that's all you need to know. Wage War's Manic is terrible. Like Pressure, like their last album, wasn't awful. Like, but like I thought it was whatever, but Manic proved to me that yeah, their material like definitely has not aged well. Pressure hasn't aged well. None of their material has aged really that well. The only good songs Circle the Drain. Other than that, nothing. Nothing. Bad vocals on tracks like If Tomorrow Never Comes or Death Roll. Silver. Both vocalists, by the way, don't have good vocals on the clean singer sounds processed through like a machine on a lot of them, and the lyrics are bad. The hooks are terrible. This is the wrong way to do catchy songs. Like this is everything that metalcore should be. The vocals are just like the high scream parts suck. They just like make you want to punch your computer screen. I know that's not why the hinge is broken. That's a different issue, but anyway, the rest it's just not good. Wage of War is not talented enough to make good music. It's not talented enough to like have. They're not like talented enough to be on the level of what you would call a good metalcore band like Architects or something like that. They're not on that level. They're just there to just write generic music just so they can get active rock airplay. They don't have really any motivation. Like I hate it when bands say, "Oh, this is our deepest material yet," and it's stuff that you've heard before. Like if you want actual deep stuff, like read anyone else's lyrics, like that is actually creative. Like watch or listen to other songs that actually make you feel something. Wage War doesn't make you feel anything. It just sucks. Manic sucks. So, moving on from there at number 5, we have the new Raw album. Intercorrupted, actually. Yeah. A lot of you didn't even remember this album coming out. It came out early in the year. And that's because Raw is one of those bands that was popular somewhat in 2002, 2004 with albums like From One and Duality. And they had a good album when they last released music called Critical Mass that I thought was good. Awake, It's All Over Now. Those songs are pretty good. And then they come back with Intercorrupted, which is a mess of an album. I mean, Sahaj totally doesn't have any vocal ability that he did, or he's phoning it in, and the production's terrible on this album. Sorry about that. This band went so long. It takes 8 freaking years to make an album that sounds very half-assed. Like you have a song called "Let's Go to Mexico." Let's bring back the day to remember "Viva La Mexico." And why the freak would you make a song called "Let's Go to Mexico" on an alternative hard rock album? And I remember it sounding like, and it doesn't sound like Mexico music or what. It's just "Let's Go to Mexico." It doesn't sound like one of those country songs that doesn't sound like, I don't know, like "Viva Mexico." I don't know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't sound like that Kenny Chesney song about that was whatever that song was called. I don't remember, but anyway, it sounds better than this. Let's go to Mexico. Are you kidding? Jezebel? Like, what the heck? Like, oh, Dustin Bates totally sounds like he's either drunk or something on his feature on this, whatever song he was featured on. Like, thankfully, though, what John Witherspoon of Seven Dust, like, was good, but that's just because he's John Witherspoon. And he can make a lot of music sound pretty good. Like, that song that he's on is not even anything worth talking about. Like, it's just there. Just like everything on Intercorrupted. It's just there. It just exists. And that is not what good music should do. Just good music doesn't just exist. Good music makes you feel something and makes you want to listen to it over and over and over again. It doesn't turn you off. Like, it doesn't do any of that stuff that I just said. Like, good music actually makes you feel something. And Raw's album doesn't make you feel anything. It doesn't make you even feel even remotely interested in anything that's going on in the album. It just is a mess. It is a mess. I am telling you, it is a mess. This Raw album should have been a whole lot better than it was. At best, it should have been just mediocre, but it's terrible. Raw's Intercorrupted, like, this album is corrupted by terribleness. Like, basically. Like this album should have been so much more. And yet it wasn't. Like, it's bad. It's bad. So, number 4 on the list, and this is kind of an expected one here. We got AJR with OK Orchestra, a ripoff of OK Computer by Radiohead, an actual good album. And yeah, this is basically like if you were locked in a cabinet with like the freaking Minions or some other stupid anime. If you were locked in a room with the Trolls from DreamWorks or with the Ugly Dolls, if anybody remembers that. Yeah, this is basically trash music. Yeah, it's like, and this is their best album. That would be like saying their best album was like a freaking 2 out of 10 album or something like that. HAR's album, OK Orchestra, totally trash. Like, totally. Like, you have like songs like Humpty Dumpty, which sucks, which is laughably bad. You have tracks like Way Less Sad and Badlands. Those tracks are terrible. It sounds like a night. It sounds like if I went to sleep one night and I had a terrifying dream about like sugar infested like preschool show characters coming in, like, and they're burning me in a fire or something. It sounds terrible. It sounds total with whiny lyrics. That's exactly what it is. HAR, it's terrible music. How can you say that this is terrible? This is good music. Like, I mean, HAR's fans, like, how can you say that any of these songs are bangers? Because none of them are bangers. Because, like, they're just doofuses. That's what they are. HAR, the band members of HAR are just doofuses. Like, if you're in the audience right now and you're thinking, oh, HAR, you know, HAR isn't really that bad. They don't look that bad. I mean, I don't know what HAR is so bad about. Like, don't look them up because they're terrible. Because I've been saying terrible so many times in this because it's true. HAR's music is terrible. Like, The Click might be their worst album, but like that, they might have done worse than this, but that does not make OK Orchestra good at all whatsoever. Like, it's just like, whatever. Like, 21 Pilots Scaled and Icy is better than this. I mean, seriously, and that was our number 10 pick. This is our number 4 pick, and it's terrible. Like, the whole video should be called Terrible Albums List because that's what I keep saying. But, like, anyway, HAR with this album, totally just discard this one in the trash. It is not good. Number 3. Now, I'm going to pull up the number 3 one on here. Number 3 on the list, The Plotting You with Swan Song. This album's terrible. This is the top 3, folks. This is where we get the really terrible stuff that came out this year. The Plot You with Swan Songs. Oh my goodness. What a mess of an album. Like, Plotting You, like, oh, totally, like, nobody would pick The Plotting You for number 3 on the list. Nobody would do that. Like, and then you listen to the album, and then it sounds like things that are worse than what they did on Dispose, which was also terrible. And then everything just sounds like a drug trip that you don't want to go on. That's what Swan Song feels like. Like Dispose, like I'm fine with the lyrical content on this album, like on Swan Song. I'm fine with the concept about like like things coming to an end and stuff like that. Like I'm fine with like the sales pitch for this album. Too bad the sales pitch sucked. The too bad the actual thing that they were like selling was terrible. Was unlistenable. Was like I was in awe. Like this is probably the maddest that I got out of an album this year. And you saw my reactions to the Wage War album that came out. Like when I streamed that video, you saw my reaction to that. And Planet Tours cannot sing at all. Seriously, he cannot sing. He sounds freaking terrible on this album. He sounds like he's just screaming bloody murder on songs that don't deserve that kind of a vocal delivery. On the song, whatever the song is called, Too Heavy, which is an awful, god awful song. And you have Enemy, which sounds like it was like somebody took Spirit Box's Eternal Blue album and just bastardized it or something. I don't even know. Like, and the other songs in the album. There's some songs that are just like, oh, okay, whatever. But the bad stuff really is bad. It is really bad. Like, Landon Tours is a terrible vocalist. Like, seriously. Like, he was fine on Happiness and Self-Destruction. That I can let that album slide. But the plot, use other material, throw it all in the dumpster. Throw it all in a landmine. Throw it all off a volcano. Seriously. Into the burning lava. Seriously. Like, just get rid of it. Especially Dispose. Send that into... Especially Dispose and especially this album, Swan Song. Throw this into the bottom of the earth to be tormented for years by the devil. That's how bad this album is. Like, totally. I'm no longer interested in this band because they're just gonna keep making. They're totally like dead set on doing this. And you know what? If they are, then nope, done, absolutely done. Get out of here. Landon Tours and the rest of the band members, please do us all a favor. Give up. This album is not worth any time whatsoever. And if you think it is, that's your prerogative. But my prerogative is, this album sucks. And number 2, we get to the silver medal. The platinum, you got the bronze shit medal. This album right here is going to get the silver shit medal. Number 2, this is obvious. Escape the Fate with Chemical Warfare. Now, for the longest time of the year, I thought this was going to be the number 1 worst album. Because seriously, like, goodness, I just thought this was going to be the number 1 worst. But thankfully, we have an album that proved that wrong. Yeah, thankfully, sarcastically. I was just sarcastically, like, just saying that. But, like, yeah, Escape the Fate's Chemical Warfare. This album is just a big, steaming pile of everything that I absolutely freaking hate about, like modern music, like about modern heavy music. Like, seriously, every song on this album sucks. Like, Escape the Fate is never a good band. And, like, I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe Escape the Fate could actually try something new and actually not be terrible. Well, too bad, because they made Chemical Warfare, this mess of an album, and we have Not My Problem, which is terrible. Like, that's the song with Travis Barker. It's like, you took me a mile, the more you bitch, the less I smile. Yeah, that's really good, isn't it? Yeah, that's good lyricism. Like, it sounds like an infant crying about a toy or something. Yeah, that's great. Like, and then you have Demons, Unbreakable, My Gravity. Those songs all can go in the dumpster. And a lot of this is like motivational stuff that sucks. as laughable coming from a band that mostly just complains about everything, and tries to put rolling 808s and freaking trap beats in their music, and tries to be as edgy as they can, and it doesn't work. Like, nothing. Like Lindsey Sterling, for crying out loud, Lindsey Sterling deserves way better than this. Like Lindsey Sterling should make that rock album, and hopefully it doesn't sound like this. Hopefully Lindsey Sterling isn't thinking to herself, "Oh, hey, Craig Mabbitt and those guys from Escape the Fate. Let's have them co-guest. Let's have them guest on a song. This will be the new Apocalyptica, only it will suck." Hopefully that does not come to fruition because Escape the Fate's Chemical Warfare is trash. Everything that they have done since 2018 has been trash. 2013's Ungrateful, that was trash. I will give a little bit of a slide to some stuff from 2010, considering it's only like 1% better. But, keyword, 1%. Actually, that's two keywords, but you get the point. But yeah, Escape the Fate, yeah, totally. Like, not good. Not freaking good at all. Like, I didn't even bother. I heard Not My Problem on one of Rock's Twitch things that he does new music night. I was just like, ugh, that's shit. I've heard some stuff like this is worse than anything Machine Gun Kelly has done. I'm gonna throw that out there. You might roast me under a fire if you can reach me, but I'm sorry, Machine Gun Kelly, at least you can laugh at him. This Escape the Fate stuff you can't laugh at whatsoever. Anything on Escape the Fate's Chemical Warfare, you can't laugh at. I'm sorry. Nope, that's not going to work here. Not in my alley, or whatever you want to call it, or something like that. No, that's not going to work. Sorry. My hair is messy. Probably because this album made me so mad. But anyway, now we're going to get to an album that's going to make me even madder, you guys, because this one definitely took the shit cake this year. Definitely made it into the sewer, and totally just made me lose all faith that this year was going to be any good whatsoever, any better than 2020. This number one album here, I'm going to show you what it is. People in the comments, please type down what this is. I will give you 5 seconds. Okay, you haven't figured it out yet? Yeah, it's Attila's album Closure. This is the worst album in 2021. Now, Attila just disgusts me on so many levels. Like, I thought, I didn't even want to do this. I didn't even want to put Attila on the worst list. I didn't even want to listen to this album, but shit, I listened to it because I was thinking, why not? We don't have a lot of bad albums this year. Let's see if Attila will step up to the plate, hit a home run. Well, guess what? They hit a home run, and guess what? I was standing outside that stadium, and they hit me right in the freaking... They gave me a concussion. I had to go to the hospital, do all that stuff. They repaired that, and then I got a concussion again from hitting myself in my sleep and something. And then I woke up, and I remembered Attila, his album came out. I was like, oh, shit. Now this is why... I guess I now realize this is why every July has sucked in terms of music. Trapped released their shit album, Shadow Work, last year. And then Attill's Closure came out this year, so whatever. But Attill's Closure has nothing to do with the guitar work or anything like that, because if anything, that makes me angrier because, Chris Link should be taken out of this band and put in a better band. One that doesn't have the egotism of this idiot, this Chris Franzak idiot, who's a pedophile, quite honestly. And he's also a very sick in the head person. You can see... Sorry about that. It was my body telling me not to do this anymore, but I'm not listening to it. But he's a creepy person. If you read the lyrics on the songs, you can definitely tell that he's not a good person. Like on it, and I'm not one to be like, oh well, bad song, like, oh, this song has bad lyrics. This song has depressing lyrics or whatever, or unlikable lyrics. I can totally get it. Because no, that's not the case at all. Because you can make anything good, but this isn't. I'm sorry, Attila doesn't make good music whatsoever. If you think it, let me tell you something. If you like Attila, then there is definitely something wrong with you. If you support anything this band has done ever, then like I don't know what's wrong with you. Like unless you're like freaking the punk rock MBA or something like that. That's the only person that said I think they said Attila. That person said Attila was good. But if you're the punk rock MBA, I can let you slide. If you're anybody else, if you still think this is the scene era of this is, if you still think that Asking Alexandria sounds like, I don't know, Attack in 2008 or something, if you still think Attila is relevant, then get out of here. Then leave. Just, if you are subscribed to my channel, if you think Attila's good, unsubscribe. I don't want to deal with you. Go watch other channels. Because I'm not going to tell you anything good about this band. I don't care. Till closure, like, I could just like totally throw up on camera, and that would be the musical equivalent of Attila. Like, I could just like start making bad dad jokes all the time on my um on anytime I stream and stuff, and that would probably get better reception than this album. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Attila's closure. Just like that. I don't do the middle finger, but seriously, this album deserves it. And the middle finger to all the other albums on list too. On this list too. Even though, honestly, some of them don't deserve it. Some of them, they were more unfortunate, but like the ones that really deserve it, deserve it. So there you go. That's my top 10 worst albums of 2021. What do you think of these albums? Hopefully, it's not good. So anyway, leave your responses down in the comment section down below. If you want to share the throne with me and roast these albums, or if you like some of these, you definitely put them down below in the comment section down below. I'm Skip the Wolf signing out. Take care.